Welcome to Conversations, a program in which we explore the myriad facets of the educational experience, highlighting some of the things being done at all the levels of education to enhance its quality. Today we're going to be talking about early childhood education, and I have the distinct pleasure of welcoming the Honourable Minister, Ms. Priya Manickchand, Honourable Minister of Education, that is. I also have the pleasure of welcoming Ms. Ingrid Trotman. You are the Assistant Chief Education Officer, Nursery. And I think you are an educational consultant working in early childhood development. And you are Miss Quenita Walrond.
Thank you for getting it right the first time.
Welcome. And of course, today what we want to look at is how the efforts being taken by the ministry are impacting very directly on children all across the country, especially those at this level that we're discussing. Minister, let me start with you. What are some of the new things that the ministry is going to be doing to ensure that these children who are now about to enter school, preschool children, are given the best possible opportunities?
Right. Thank you very much for having us here, because we love talking about how we can make our children better, and how we can help parents to make their children what they sacrifice every day to do for their children, make them the best they can be as persons. But we do concede that we don't talk about some of these things enough. We spend a lot of time planning them and rolling them out, and we're not actually interacting enough. And we're planning to change that in 2014, so you're going to see more of us in 2014 interacting through means like your Conversations program. What we're doing is, this morning we're talking about the nursery-aged children, the children who are going to go into nursery schools. Now, if you were born from last year, from 2013 going back, you had to have been born by March 31st. And the year you turn 3, we would let you into school in September. This year, we're changing that. We announced it last year, but it's being changed in this year. A child may be born as late as June 30th, and then we would still register you for September school in 2014. So we've allowed children to go into school earlier now than ever before in the history of our country. And the reason for that is simply because children across the world are evolving. The world has evolved. It's now a information age. It's a more knowledgeable world. It's a more aware world. And Ghana is not left behind. And so with the advent of television and internet, and we have TVs in every home. I am in most homes. I'd say in the 90%. More than 98% of our families have televisions or access to televisions. And with that, and with the Learning Channel that broadcasts and publishes a lot of material on early childhood development, and including ABCs and numerals and so on, our children know a lot more and are more ready now at an early age. So that's the reason we changed the age. But we can't just change an age without making preparations. And so we need parents to partner with us fully along the way to make sure that these children become the best they can be. One of the things we need parents to do is to go right now and get registered. Go to the closest school to your home, get the registration form and register your children. If they're born if they're going to be 3 this year, 3 years old in 2014, and they're born before June 30th, then your child will be ready for school in September.
So what do they have to do? What time do they have? What time frame do they have available up to get this done? Can I ask you that question?
Well, we have already started. Thank you. We have already started issuing the forms, the application forms, and registration has already begun in Georgetown. Now,
you are the Assistant Chief Education
yes,
Officer.
I am.
For nursery. We have nursery, primary, secondary. This is our nursery officer.
Okay. Your role is to essentially implement policies that are being propagated by the ministry. Tell me, what are some of the difficulties you have in making sure that everybody knows about what is going on and are able to utilize these benefits?
It's just that some people might think that because they do not have a birth certificate, they will not be able to take their child to school. However, we cater for those children who do not have birth certificates as yet. Also the clinic cards, the health cards. But we give them a time frame, like from the entire first term when we register, right now we register you, and then the child is admitted in September. We give you the entire term, September to December, to get that in place. So that is one of the greatest difficulty for children who do not have birth certificates, but we are registering them.
And what they would need to take with them for registration is the birth certificate.
The birth certificate, the child's clinic card or immunization card, as well as the parents would need to take their identification card and the proof of address, some form of proof of address.
Yeah. If you don't have something like a proof of address, because not everybody is living in a quote-unquote regulated environment. How do they get around that?
Okay, in terms of those who do not have, for example, me, I don't have any bills in my name, right? But I get around it in terms of I can have somebody identify me.
Okay.
And say, well, this is a person, they can stand as a guarantor. Yes, they are living here. The person who is living there or who their bill is addressed to can come and say, yes, this person lives here with me.
And let me just tell you, we're doing that. These are not things that we want to do because we just feel like getting some documents. We need a birth certificate so that we know when this child was born and that they're ready. Because if a child is born in August, they will not be ready for school in September, and that wouldn't be in the best interest of the child. So we need to know that they're born at the right time. The immunization card, because it's very important that we make sure our children have all the relevant vaccines at the right time, and we get to be able to pick up the slack. So where a child wasn't vaccinated, we're able to work with the Ministry of Health to do that, and also that we have a medical history of the child in case anything happens. Proof of address is important because the policy of the ministry is that each child is entitled to a place in the school closest to that child's home. You're entitled to that. So we've given you that almost as your God-given. Once you're born and you live at this place, you're entitled to the school, to a place in the school closest to where you live. So we need to know where you live. That's why we ask for proof of address. We also say that a child could possibly be placed in a school closest to where his or her parent works, but that would be dependent on whether that school has space. Because remember, there's a whole host of children who are
living there already.
And they have an entitlement because they live there. So that's really why we ask for some of these documents.
Okay. Quenita, we've been leaving you out of this conversation, but I think it's time to bring you in. I mean, you are a childhood development consultant, early childhood development consultant, and I know you've been playing an integral role in the rollout of this project. What I want you to tell me is a little bit about what needs to happen prior to a child going to get into the school in September. What do the parents need to be doing? How do they need to prepare their child so that in this time frame that they have available to them, they are ready when they are about to start school in September?
Well, Russell, thank you for asking that question, because parent involvement and parent engagement is so important to the success of the child overall in their education experience. Now, that gap before children come to us in the formal education system, the parent is their first and best teacher. They are the ones that have to lay all of the foundation skills, whether it's emotional, social, academic, intellectual. They're the ones that prime the child for readiness at school. Now, before the child comes to school, there are some key things that need to be in place. They need to know how to go to the toilet by themselves, so they need to be potty trained. That's something that parents can work on in the months leading up to school. Things like learning to feed yourself, because we have a community culture where we eat together and parents help the children eat, but at school, it's a teacher versus 20 children, and that teacher can't be mom to 20 children and help each one of them feed themselves. So children learning to feed themselves, go to the toilet on their own, those are fundamental things. Now, parents can also pick up much needed space by spending quality time with their children in learning activities, fun learning activities. You don't necessarily need to rely on television or the store with all of the fancy gadgets and learning toys. You can teach your children ABCs and 1, 2, 3s and what is blue versus what is green versus what is yellow, just by paying attention to the things in the home environment. So having conversations with children in full and complete sentences. Babe, can you bring me the blue bucket, please? Or honey, which one is the green clothespin? Or how many, if it's 4 of us for dinner, can you count 4 spoons for us while we set the table? So using the everyday home environment as a teachable environment to build these skills that children will need when they get to kindergarten, to nursery school. Sorry.
I was looking at the BBC just this morning, and I came across a little story about the fact that children who are talked to in the home environment, the amount of words you speak to them per day literally determines their ability to function once they get into school. And especially in disadvantaged households, you don't get a lot of interaction.
That's right.
And one of the things they've been doing is trying to see how they could make the parent, give the parent opportunities where they can talk to the child more, so that when they get into that environment, they can function better. What are some of the things that we're doing here in that? Because, of course, we know that at a certain level of functioning, economic level of functioning, one, we might have things like the parent not being literate. How do we kind of get this information over to them?
Well, parent-to-child communication, first of all, cannot be underscored. And some people are of the view that children are little beings that don't necessarily require that much mental space or attention. However, it couldn't be further from the truth, because children need to be talked to. When they hear language being spoken, that's how they develop language themselves. And Guyana is fortunate to be an oral culture. So you don't need necessarily to know how to read and write and know that, okay, this is an A. But you can have conversations with your children, talk to them, communicate your value for education. You might not have had it with yourself, but you can talk to your children about how important it is to go to school and learn these things. Singing songs. Culture is transmuted through song. By playing games, getting involved in the games children play. And you can learn that way as well.
But you know, I want to raise something, and I'm glad you raised it. I want to speak particularly and straight to the person who's poor, the poorest person who's watching us. I want to speak to that person. You're poor, you don't know how to read and write, but I know you live every day of your life hoping for a better life for your child. And you could be a little frustrated with, how do I give my child all these things these people are talking about if I don't know how to read and write? And you are the people I want to talk to most, because you have all the tools. You know how to speak, and you know things like blue and red and yellow, and you know what's a triangle and what's a square and what's a circle. These are some of the things we can do. So we're not asking you to go out because you have limited money already and go to a store and buy a chart with colors. But you could say, this is the green grass. Look at the green grass. Look at the yellow hibiscus. Talk about mommy's orange dress. Could you help me pick up from the line your purple pants, daddy's purple pants? These are things we can talk about. When I'm speaking here, I'm speaking as a mother. But I want to say also that it's hugely important for fathers to be involved. So fathers could help to teach so much by just walking down the dam, walking down the road with your child and saying,
Yes.
look at that wrong tractor wheel. Look at a wrong car wheel. This is a square bin. For example, in the rice field areas, rice cutting areas, you have these bulks that you pour rice into long ago. It used to be rice bags. Now people are doing it with bulks. Look at that square bulk, that red square bulk.
And then asking the question, can you find anything else that looks like that shape?
Yeah, so parents, it's hugely important for parents to interact. We just did a research that we're going to publish shortly, and we're a little worried, which is why we're talking a lot about this, because we have some basic things that children should know by the time they're 3. I mean, research around the world says this is what it should be by the time they're 3 and a half. And that would be, some basic colors, some basic shapes, some bio information. And this is before children come into the education system, and only 30%, I think 32% of them knew the things we thought they should know. And as a parent, I'm telling you, I didn't even know I should be talking to my child about some of these things. And so that's why I think we need to get out there and talk about what's going on.
Exactly what they
So we want to tell you, use this opportunity to tell parents why, like some of the things you should be talking to your child about.
Minister, I'm glad you mentioned the fact that we're bringing up the age for children to get into school. Why have you chosen at this particular point to do that?
Because, you know, a lot of parents complained, and that's how we operate. We listen to what people want, the people of Guyana, and that's how we formulate policy. We can't always give everything someone wants or everything the majority wants, but we can listen and make sure we come as close as possible to what people want. So what was happening? Let's take my own daughter, who was a victim of the past system, by the way. She was born in April. And so she was 3 last year in 2013 in April. At September, she could not get into a public school, except I were to break the rules, which I didn't do. She couldn't get into a public school, but she was ready. And that is what happened to a lot of parents, a lot of children. Somebody wrote me this morning to say his child is going to be 3 in August, but he's like a 5-year-old already. We can cater for the 1 or 2 exceptions. We can cater though for the majority. And we think the majority of our children, I mean, we didn't just come up with this decision. Having heard the parents, I remember having meetings with head teachers for nursery and teachers and so on, saying, do you think children would be ready at a younger age, which would be a little bit like 3 months younger than last year? Children were ready. And people thought they would be. And I think it's a good thing to give children that jump start. We do have a large percentage, 85% of our nursery-aged children are in nursery schools. It's a lot higher on the coast. It's lower in the hinterland regions. And that's probably the highest in the Commonwealth Caribbean. So we're doing very well with that. Now, if you give children that early start, boom, they're off to the place where we can see them do very well. But we have to get that partnership. A lot of people think, okay, well, I'll just dump her at a school gate. Wait, I think a lot of us would like to do that. I don't want to do this teaching thing when I come home. I don't want to be responsible for these difficult things. So I'm just going to drop this child off at school and the teacher will take care of it all. It doesn't work like that. You have to reinforce. And reinforcing doesn't mean necessarily sitting down and going 1 + 1 = 2. But Quenita spoke about clothespins. Count the clothespins on the line. You know, very normal things in your everyday home that the poorest parent can do. So I am saying, if before you thought you were poor and you did not have this, the skills or the materials to teach or to support your child, I'm saying throw that through the window. You can do it. You have made a child. You got nothing harder than that.
And I mean, look at it this way. Everybody loves to have fun. And children learn best through their play, especially at this level. You can't say it again and again and again. Learning through play is how children learn at this age. So turn everything into a game. If we're going to set the table, I'm going to race you to see if I can match how many spoons. If we're going to sort the clothes, turn it into a game. Can you find me a sock that looks like this one? If you're going to be picking up things outside, baby, can you hand me, let's see, 1, 2, 3 clothespins, because I need 3 clothespins to this big sheet. So you're teaching concepts, big versus small, red as different from yellow or blue or green. But it's fun and it's engaging, and that's how the children will hold on to the information.
So the important thing here is talk to your child. And I think if parents were doing that, and we see a lot of parents really trying, in fact, our most committed parents are early childhood parents. When they start getting to primary and secondary, they're dropping off. But the nursery, the babies, their parents are very interested. And I'm seeing more of a presence of fathers, which I find extremely, well, first of all, I think it's sexy to have a father who's involved in his child's life. But I also think it's very, very good for our children. But Quenita spoke. Once you can speak, you know, big, you know, small, you know, these things that we can get concepts.
Ingrid, again, I've been leaving you out. Don't worry. I want to ask you, how does the ministry plan to cater for this influx of new children that are going to be coming in? What are we going to be doing?
Because we have thought of it since last year, we have already started to put things in place, like we're looking at the number of furniture. We have definitely would have to increase in the furniture in some schools, not all schools, by the way, but in some schools we would have to increase furniture. We're thinking about where we would have to have additional staff, because if you have a class there, we have to have more. We have a larger class, we indeed have to have more teachers. Right? And we have to think about the materials, the kind of age-appropriate materials, so we have to have additional materials as well. So we are in the progress of having all these things. We have already put some in place, and we are heading towards that.
Okay, and just to pause there, that's why we really need parents to register now. Because with this new age change, we're going to have about 3,000 more children than last year. So last year, if we took in 10,000, this year we should have about 13,000 in September. The problem with that is they won't all be in one classroom, but we need to know how they're distributed because we don't want people turning up on September morning. And because of this age change, 10 new children are in the classroom, but we don't have 10 new chairs. So parents have to help us to prepare for their children by getting registered early. Once we get these numbers, then we'll be able to go out and buy furniture, buy crayons, make sure teachers are in the
Even in the regions, we have the officers there will report on a weekly basis. Okay, we have registered so many for this week, so we have an idea where we have to provide these necessary things.
If you are not a Guyanese child and you want to be in the system, you're living here or whatever, what do you have to do?
We register all the children. Once they are of the age born on or before June 30th, 2011, we register them. Probably it would not be a Guyanese birth certificate, but then we still accept the birth certificate that you have. For example, this morning a parent came to me and she had no birth certificate, no clinic card, nothing concerning this child. But I said to her, okay, we're going to accept, if you have the child on your passport, we're going to take that information, but we're going to give you the time, as I said before, to get these things in order. So we accept even those children who are not Guyanese, but of Guyanese parentage, we accept them in the school system.
Okay. Logistically, how will this roll out across the country? I mean, I can understand in Georgetown, it might be...
No, this is a national thing. This is going to happen across the country. How's it going to roll out? Once parents get their children registered now, September morning, I think school opens on the 6th. I can't remember the date of September. We're going to have all these brand new children going into school who could not go into school before. Once we get registered, we are very conscious that we have to be counting. And that's why we're here talking to you about people getting children registered. As soon as they're registered, we have to start counting and start procuring that furniture and making sure there's a teacher in the classroom because we have a ratio. We don't want more than 20 children to a teacher. That's the best standard. And so if 5 new ones came in this class and 5 in that class, we might have to start a new class. Right. Starting a new class means we have to find a new teacher. So these are arrangements administratively that we don't want to tax parents with, but we want to tell them what they are that we have to do. These are things we have to do. Because if we don't do it, your child doesn't get the best education possible. And that's why we need you to register now so that we can make these counting things happen.
Okay. This is going to be our last word on this because we're going to close off in a little bit. So I want each one of you to tell me one little thing that you think is really critical for this to happen. Minister, I'll start with you. Could you just advise on what you think should be the approach parents should take? And how quickly do you think they need to get on board with this?
Well, here's the thing. First of all, is your child going to be 3 this year? If the answer to that is yes, did my child born before June 30th? If the answer to that is yes, then take yourself up immediately, get to the nearest nursery school and register your child. If you're having any difficulties at all, contact the ministry on our hotline numbers, on our Facebook page, on our website. Write us, let us know that you're having a difficulty and we'll resolve it. But that's the first thing parents need to do. And understand that when you do this, you're really giving your child that opportunity to be better than you are as a parent.
ACU, your final word. I know you are the person directly responsible for making sure that this happens. And I know a lot of parents are going to come to you and say, I've got a problem with this, I got a problem with this. I never heard that I couldn't have a birth certificate or some such thing. What can you say to them to help them to get this process to happen for them?
Okay, I'm saying once you know that your child has been born on or before the 30th of June 2011, we are open and you bring your child. Don't bring the child, but you come into us. We will help you even if you don't have the birth certificate. We are going to help you in some form how to assist you how to get that birth certificate. So come and give us the information. We will be able to place that child, register that child, and we are saying the school closest to your home. And if you are working parents now, and nobody would be at home to look at that child during school hour, when school dismisses, you can get a job letter from your employee, and employer, and you can bring that letter, and we would look at where you are working and give you the school closest to your workplace. So we have
space is available.
One space is available, yes. So I'm really encouraging the parents, because we have to get these things intact. We want to have enough furniture, we want to have enough teachers, we want to have enough materials. So once they register early, we would be able to put all these things in place and have them ready for come September 6th. So we're looking forward for the cooperation of the parents.
Thank you. Quenita.
Now, a last word. I have several words. The most important thing that a parent can do for their child now, between now and September, is develop routines. Routines for sleeping, routines for eating, and that's like the types of food that they eat, the amount of rest that they get, routines around going to the toilet by themselves. So this is the time where you teach your child to get out of the diapers, get out of the pull-ups, be able to run around in their big girl and big boy on the pants, and get the business of going to the toilet independently out of the way, as well as routines around learning. So now this is when you find that time in your day to play purposefully, to teach some of these foundation things. And the most important thing for me is finding teachable moments in everyday life. Walking down the street is an opportunity to teach. Walking to the farm is an opportunity to teach. Cutting rice is an opportunity to teach. Selling in the market is an opportunity to teach. Teach. Use everyday experiences to teach and talk to your children.
Thank you very much, ladies. Minister, I'm going to ask you to give us one final word, because I know you like to connect and you like to make sure that people are given every opportunity to access what is being made available to them. So use this opportunity to tell them.
This program, I just want to make it very clear, is happening nationally. It's in Bartik, it's in Let Them, it's in quarantine. So wherever your child is, you can access a nursery school. And look, once we get these kids into nursery school, we need you. We need to hold hands to make sure this child can be the best that they can be. And if you think your life is hard now, let me just say the only way you can change your child's life being as hard as yours is to put them in a school and make sure they get that education. And we're providing that opportunity. The government is giving that opportunity. We're very keen on education. That's why this is a sector that sees the biggest budget and so on happening. So you've got to grab hold of this opportunity and give it to your child with us. We just ask you to stay tuned. Pay attention to the things the Ministry of Education is saying. Pay attention to the things the minister is saying, the officers are saying. Every time we're on TV, in the newspapers, wherever. Join us, like us on Facebook if you're on Facebook. Join us there so that you're fully aware of these opportunities that your child could access.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Today on Conversations, I was talking with the Honourable Minister of Education, Ms. Priya Manickchand, Ms. Ingrid Trotman, who is the Assistant Chief Education Officer, and Ms. Quenita Walrond, who is an educational consultant who's been working with the ministry. And of course, I'm sure that you learned quite a lot today, and especially if your child was born on or before June 30th, please ensure, this is June 30th, 2011, please ensure that you're making every effort to get them registered and ready for school in September. Thank you for taking this time with us.
Guyana Learning Channel, taking education to all corners of Guyana.